Hey. Good evening. My name is Matt Johnson. I'm a Capital Project Manager at the Montgomery County Department of Transportation. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Matt Johnson. Yo soy gerente de proyectos de capital en el Departamento del Transporte del Condado de Montgomery. Welcome to the meeting. Thank you for attending this evening. Bienvenido a la reunión comunitaria. Gracias por venir esta noche. My colleague Oscar Garcia will be giving the presentation tonight. Mi colega Oscar Garcia hará la presentación esta noche. And I'm sorry that my Spanish isn't strong enough to give the entire presentation. Lo siento, pero yo hablo solamente por poquito español. So,
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So I'm going to run the presentation in both English and Spanish, so it's recorded for other people that want to see it. So bear with me. I'm going to have to. Oh, you want to pause? I'm going to have to switch back and forth from English and Spanish, so my brain may take a little bit to adjust between languages, but I think I can handle. Sure. Is this better? Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're fine with English, but for recording purposes, I'm going to do it in both languages. Yeah. All right. So, like Matt said, this is the public meeting number 2 for the Carroll Avenue Separated Bike Lanes project. There's a website for the project, which is this here in blue. And after the presentation, we welcome you to take a look at the maps, and there will be a Q&A session, which Matt and I and the other team members will be able to answer your questions, hopefully. El proyecto tiene una página web, la cual está aquí subrayada en azul, y después de la presentación tendremos un breve tiempo de preguntas y respuestas, y el equipo podrá responder las preguntas que ustedes tengan, y en la parte de atrás pueden mirar los mapas y consultar cualquier inquietud que tengan. Okay, so the brief overview of the project. This is a low-stress bikeway facility on Carroll Avenue between Merrimack Drive, that's to the south, and Piney Branch Road to the north in the Tacoma-Langley Crossroads area. So the main goals of the project are to improve the pedestrian and bicycle safety along the corridor, but also to provide connectivity to the future Purple Line at the Tacoma-Langley Transit Center. Un vistazo general del proyecto. La descripción es una ruta de bajo estrés para ciclistas a lo largo de Carroll Avenue, entre Merrimack Drive en el sur y Piney Branch Road en el norte, en el área de Tacoma y Langley Crossroads. Los dos objetivos principales del proyecto son mejorar la seguridad para peatones y ciclistas a lo largo del corredor y suministrar una conexión para ciclistas que sea cómoda y segura con la futura estación de la línea púrpura y con el centro de tránsito de Tacoma y Langley. We're going to do like a quick overview of the existing conditions. Some of these may have changed. As you know, there is continuous construction in the corridor, so I'll try to cover this as quick as possible. For this purpose, we are dividing the corridor in 3 sections, in 4 sections. So one will be the section between Merrimack Drive and University Boulevard. We're going to look at the intersection of University Boulevard. Then we're going to look north of University Boulevard between up to roughly 11th Avenue, and then we're going to see the segment between 11th Avenue and Piney Branch. So this section, which is south of University Boulevard, we have a service road south of Merrimack Drive. We have a service road on the northbound, and then on the southbound, we have travel lane and then an existing bike lane that connects further south. Right now, I guess by the time we put this presentation together, there was no sidewalk on the northbound side. Right now, there is a sidewalk that State Highway built along the northbound lane. There is overhead utilities. It used to be an open section, but now it's been curved. Next. So, vamos a revisar las condiciones existentes del proyecto. Para esto vamos a dividir el proyecto en 4 zonas. La primera zona es al sur de University Boulevard, donde encontramos al sur de Merrimack Drive un bicicarril que conduce al sur y conecta con los carriles que continúan al sur de Carroll Avenue. Tenemos una vía de servicio al norte y hay bastantes postes de servicio público en el sentido norte. y actualmente han construido una acera en el sentido norte entre Merrimack Drive y University Boulevard. Continuing north at the intersection Boulevard. So right now this is under construction, so it's probably not gonna match what you see in the photo. But what we want to highlight is the upcoming Purple Line construction, or the construction of the Purple Line tracks that will be installed at this intersection. La siguiente sección que vamos a ver es la intersección con University Boulevard, en la cual, bueno, las condiciones existentes no están cambiando continuamente por las construcciones que se están haciendo, pero lo que queremos resaltar es que a lo largo de University Boulevard se va a instalar la línea púrpura, la cual va a atravesar University Boulevard y Carroll Avenue. The next section is what we call the wide section. It's a wider footprint. The road is wider, and this is north of University Boulevard, roughly up to 11th Avenue. So some of the existing conditions include on the southbound, there is in front of the University Manor apartments, there's perpendicular parking. On the northbound, and there's a grass median, and then on the northbound, we have on-street parking, also numerous driveways, and overhead utilities that are behind the road. La siguiente zona que vamos a ver es al norte de University Boulevard. Esto es lo que hemos llamado una sección ancha, dado que la vía es más ancha en esta zona. Y las características principales son un estacionamiento perpendicular que sirve para los apartamentos de University Manor en el sentido sur. Y en el sentido, bueno, tenemos un separador o camellón, y en el sentido norte tenemos carriles de estacionamiento y numerosas entradas para los autos de las residencias. The last section that we're going to see is what we call the narrow section, still north of University Boulevard, north of 11th Avenue, and this runs up to Piney Branch Road. The main characteristic is there is no median, so that's why it's narrow. That's why it's narrower. And we have continuous on-street parking on the northbound lane. There is a right-on stop on both sides. There is a right turn lane at Piney Branch. And on the southbound, well, we have the right-on bus stop and also some on-street parking. La última sección que vamos a ver es al norte de University Boulevard, lo que hemos llamado la sección angosta, ya que carece de separador o camellón. Y en esta zona tenemos carriles de estacionamiento en el sentido norte, paradas de autobús, un carril de giro exclusivo que gira hacia la derecha en Piney Branch, y en el sentido sur hay carriles de estacionamiento y igual también hay una parada del ride-on. So, given the existing conditions and what we wanted to achieve for the project, we had several considerations for the development of the alternatives. So these include the comfort and safety for people on bicycles and pedestrians. This is the number one priority. We wanted to preserve the existing roadway configuration and be mindful of the vehicular traffic and the different driveways and accesses that are required along the corridor. We took a look at on-street parking. We took a look at the impacts to property, trees, and utilities, the operation of the ride-on bus, the upcoming Purple Line improvements, as well as any adjacent projects along the corridor. Para el desarrollo de las alternativas, tuvimos en cuenta bastantes consideraciones que van de la mano con las condiciones existentes. Estas incluyen el confort y seguridad de los ciclistas y peatones, que es la prioridad número 1. También quisimos preservar la configuración de la vía, siendo conscientes del tráfico vehicular y de las diferentes entradas y accesos que se necesitan a lo largo del corredor. El estacionamiento en la calle, impactos a propiedades, árboles y servicios públicos, la operación del servicio de bus, las futuras mejoras que vienen como parte del proyecto de la línea púrpura y los diferentes proyectos en la vecindad. Okay, so we're going to touch a little bit on some technical concepts so that when we look at the alternatives, we understand what we're looking at. For the alternative development, we are looking at 3 facilities. The one on the left top is what we call a one-way cycle track. So basically, it's a bike lane that has a separation, like a space that serves as a buffer. And you have seen this throughout Montgomery County and somewhere in DC, where there's normally a curb stop or a little piece of concrete, also with flex posts to provide protection between the bike lane and the travel lane, or sometimes a parking lane. So that's the one-way cycle track. The one at the bottom is a two-way cycle track. It's the same concept, only that the bike lanes, there's two travel lanes for bicycles, one on each direction. Again, with a buffer that sometimes can include a curb stop or some concrete curb with a flex post. And the other concept is the single bike lane, which is basically a bike lane, the only separation between the bicycles and the traffic or the parked vehicles is a painted line. Hay tres conceptos que queremos revisar para explicar el desarrollo de las alternativas. El primero es la ciclorruta de una vía, que consiste en un carril de bicicletas, una separación, un espacio de separación, que puede incluir un montillo, también con un poste de plástico. El segundo concepto es el que está en la parte inferior, que es básicamente el mismo, pero incluye una ciclorruta de doble carril, uno en cada sentido. Y el tercer concepto es el que está en la parte derecha arriba, que es el carril de bicicleta, que es simplemente un carril de bicicleta en una vía, con la única separación que existe entre el tráfico vehicular y las bicicletas es una línea en el pavimento. So with all these considerations and the existing conditions, we sat down and thought about all the different alternatives that could be developed. So we did a thorough evaluation of all the different concepts, and we sorted out, we kind of narrowed it down to 3 alternatives that were presented at the previous public meeting. And after considering the comments received from the public and all the different feasibility and all the different characteristics of the alternatives, the preferred alternative was what we called back then alternative B, which consists of a 2-way cycle track on the northbound lane with limited on-street parking on the northbound lane. Después de evaluar las consideraciones y las condiciones existentes, evaluamos diferentes alternativas. 3 de ellas se presentaron en la Junta Comunal anterior, y después de analizar las diferentes características y los comentarios que recibimos del público, se seleccionó una alternativa como la alternativa preferible, que consiste en una ciclorruta de doble carril al norte y con estacionamiento limitado en el sentido norte. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of show the highlights or what the preferred alternative consists of, and I'm gonna continue the breakdown of the corridor. I'm gonna only we're gonna look only at 3 sections. The intersection of University Boulevard, we're gonna look at that later because that has special considerations. So the first section is the one between Merrimack Drive and south of University Boulevard. So for this section, we're proposing a single, a one-way cycle track. This will be, again, a bike lane, single way on each side of the road. And this will include a narrow buffer. The travel lane, the vehicular lanes will remain the same, meaning there will be 1 lane going south, 2 coming north, 1 of each will be turning left on University Boulevard. And there will be we were proposing back then, sidewalk on the northbound lane, which has already been built. One thing to note is there will be the slip lane to turn right from Carroll Avenue into University Boulevard will be removed. Right turns will be done at Merrimack Drive. Can you go back 1 second? So if we cut a section of the road looking north, the distribution of the lanes or of the footprint of the road will consist of, like I said, 1 cycle track going south, a buffer, travel lane going south, and two travel lanes going north, buffer, and cycle track. So that's kind of what this will look like looking north. La alternativa que se seleccionó, la sección entre Merrimack y University Boulevard, consiste en una ciclorruta de una vía en cada sentido. El carril de giro a la derecha se remueve y se excede ese espacio para peatones y una zona verde, y se va a construir una acera en el carril norte. La configuración de la vía va a consistir en una ciclorruta hacia el sur, separador, carril al sur, 2 carriles al norte, el cual uno gira a la izquierda en University Boulevard, luego separador y ciclorruta al norte. So this is a simulation of what that would look like. This is basically a little bit south of the intersection with Merrimack Drive, looking north. So you can see the cycle track on the left and right side and the traffic lane configuration. And we have this is also included in the map, so you'll be able to review it. Esta es una simulación de cómo la vía va a lucir. y podemos observar el carril de bicicletas en ambos sentidos, en cada lado de la vía, y la configuración de la vía con un carril al sur y 2 carriles al norte. Again, we'll look at the intersection of University Boulevard later. So north of University Boulevard. So the two-way cycle track that we had on the south will merge into a two-way cycle track that will run along the north lane of Carroll Avenue. Right now there are some crossings, pedestrian crossings. We're maintaining those. We're actually building curb extensions to induce speed reduction and also shorten the distance that pedestrians will have to cross. And we're maintaining the on-street parking. So if we cut a section, then we will have the perpendicular parking in front of University Manor on the left, a travel lane on the southbound, a travel lane on the northbound, parking lane, buffer, and the two-way cycle track. Like I said, the on-street parking will be maintained. It will be just a little bit more organized to prevent vehicles from obstructing driveways. Al norte de University Boulevard, el proyecto propone una ciclorruta de doble vía con separador de 4 pies y un carril de estacionamiento y cruces elevados y aceras extendidas. El corte de la vía consistiría en el estacionamiento enfrente de University Manor, carril al sur, carril al norte, estacionamiento, un separador y la ciclorruta de doble vía. And this is what it would look like. This is between Osage Street and 11th Avenue looking north. You can see the perpendicular parking in front of University Manor and the two-way cycle track on the right side with the parking lane and the two-way traffic on Carroll Ave. Esta es una simulación de la vía. Se puede observar el estacionamiento perpendicular enfrente de University Manor, 2 carriles, uno en cada sentido, la línea de estacionamiento y la ciclorruta de doble sentido con el separador. And this is the last segment, which is north of 11th Avenue. The two-way cycle track is maintained. There will be the buffer will vary from 4 feet to 2 feet, mostly because the road is narrower. The on-street parking is going to be limited, meaning that not all the parking that exists right now will be maintained. And there will be an enhanced pedestrian safety in front of the school, out here. And also, it will be the bus access will be also enhanced. We will look at these 2 sections in detail at the end. And the cross section is similar to the one we had before, with the southbound travel lane, northbound travel lane, parking lane where it's available, a 2-foot buffer, and then the two-way cycle track. La última sección de esta alternativa es al norte de 11th Avenue, de la avenida 11. Consiste similar a la anterior zona de una ciclorruta de doble vía con separador, esta vez de 2 pies, ya que la vía es más angosta. Y se incluye carril de estacionamiento, pero es limitado hasta cierto punto donde se puede suministrar. Incluye mejoras en la seguridad peatonal enfrente de la escuela y mejoras en el acceso a la parada de bus. This is what it would look like. This is south of the entrance to the school. We can see the cycle track, parking lane, and travel lane on each direction. Esta es una simulación de esta alternativa enfrente de la escuela. Incluye un carril de vehículos en cada sentido, línea de estacionamiento, separador y el carril de doble vía para las bicicletas. So at this point, we're going to just focus on punctual improvements. So the first one that we want to look at is the purple line crossing. So as I mentioned before, University Boulevard, as we all know, there's the purple line is going to be installed. So that means that there will be tracks on the surface of the road. So this is important for cyclists because the way a bicycle has to cross these tracks, they have to be at a certain angle. This angle is between 60 and 90 degrees. The reason for that is at a different angle, if you cut basically on a straight line, the wheel of the bicycle can get caught in between the opening of the tracks, and that will cause the person to fall. So we had to basically realign the crossing of Carroll Avenue for bicycles to meet this requirement for the angle. So that's why we have these angled track crossings. You can see them with the green marking. Additionally, we have another thing that is upcoming to University Boulevard is bike lanes on each side. So we are protecting the intersection, basically the area approaching the intersection on University Boulevard will be protected, meaning they will have a buffer and some sort of separation. And as I mentioned before, the one-way cycle tracks will merge, or maybe I should say the other way, coming from the southbound, the two-way cycle track will split. So at the intersection, they are positioned in the direction that they need to be south of University Boulevard. Estas son mejoras que se están proponiendo puntuales. Esta es la intersección de University Boulevard y principalmente el cruce de la línea púrpura. El cruce para las bicicletas tiene que hacerse a un ángulo que tiene que ser entre 60 y 90 grados. De lo contrario, la rueda frontal de la bicicleta se puede atrapar en los rieles del tren y puede causar que los ciclistas se caigan. Por esta razón, los cruces se hacen a ese ángulo. Parte de las mejoras de University Boulevard incluyen ciclorrutas en cada sentido de University Boulevard y estamos proponiendo protección en las aproximaciones de la intersección. Y en la aproximación desde el sentido norte hacia el sentido sur, la ciclorruta de doble vía se separa poniendo un carril en cada sentido de la vía para que sí se posicionen los ciclistas en el sentido que tienen que ir una vez crucen la intersección hacia el sur. The second spot improvement that we want to highlight is the school access. So as you know, recently there were stop signs installed in front of the school. These are always stop, meaning that all vehicles have to stop prior to entering the intersection. In addition to this, we are proposing curb extension, so shortening the distance that pedestrians will have to walk to get to the other side of the street. And a raised crosswalk, so that actually forces vehicles to slow as they cross the crosswalk. And also additional paper markings and signage to alert drivers that they're entering a school zone. La siguiente mejora puntual es el acceso a la escuela. Actualmente se han instalado recientemente señales de alto en la intersección y estamos proponiendo adicionalmente instalar un cruce elevado para peatones, extender la acera para cortar la distancia que tienen que cruzar los peatones y incluir marcas en el pavimento para advertir a los vehículos que están entrando en la zona escolar. The last spot that we want to show is the bus stop. This is on the northbound direction. This is just south of Pioneer Branch. We're proposing what is called a floating bus stop. So basically, if we look at the way the bus will work right now with the bike lane, that means that the bus will have to basically pull all the way to the curb, blocking the way of cyclists. So this poses a hazardous situation for bicycles traveling in any direction because they will have to get out of the way of the bus to continue traveling. So, one way to kind of address this issue is to provide us basically an area for transit users to be closer to the road while allowing the bicycles to travel along the way. This eliminates the conflict between buses and bicycles because they will be basically closer to the road and bicycles will be behind this area. And it will include some enhanced accessibility for people on a wheelchair and also some measures to mitigate or to control speed for bicycles, such as rumble strips and pavement markings to let them know that they're about to enter an area that will be crossed by pedestrians. La última mejora que queremos mencionar es una parada de bus flotante cuyo objetivo es eliminar el conflicto entre bicicletas y los buses. Para esto se asigna un espacio para los usuarios del bus que está al lado de la vía, permitiendo la circulación de bicicletas entre la acera y la parada de bus. Esto elimina el conflicto entre buses y ciclistas y estamos proponiendo una accesibilidad mejorada para personas en silla de ruedas o con problemas de movilidad Y se están proponiendo también medidas para controlar la velocidad de bicicletas, como líneas en el pavimento y marcas adicionales para advertir a los ciclistas que están entrando en una zona que va a ser atravesada por peatones. So this is, in a nutshell, what we're proposing for Carroll Avenue. Like I mentioned before, the preliminary alternatives were presented to the public in the spring of 2023. This is just an overview of the schedule. The preferred alternative that you've seen today has been advanced up to a 35% level of design, and it will be developed to 100% in the next year. And there is no construction timeline for construction yet. El calendario del proyecto incluye, bueno, se presentaron las alternativas preliminares en la primavera de este año. La alternativa preferida que se mostró hoy ha sido desarrollada hasta un 35% de diseño y se desarrollará al 100% en el próximo año. Y no hay un calendario determinado para la construcción del proyecto. So right now, this is where we're going to need your feedback, your comments. So there's 3 ways that you can leave your comments. So the easiest, fastest one will be just grab a Post-it, leave a note, and just stick it. If it's a general comment, just put it anywhere in the map. If it's a specific location, if you can put the Post-it at that location, that will help us know what you're referring to. The other way is to send Matt an email. His email is matt.johnson@montgomerycountymd.gov, or you can send him a nice letter at this address. Next. Para dejar sus comentarios, estamos pidiendo que ponga una nota en el mapa, en cualquier parte, o si es un comentario específico, cerca del lugar en el que se está haciendo referencia para nosotros entender, o puede enviar un email a Matt o escribirle por correo a la dirección en la pantalla. The comment period will remain open until Friday, December 22nd at 5 p.m. El periodo de comentarios permanecerá abierto hasta el viernes 22 de diciembre a las 5 de la tarde. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention, and we look forward to hear your comments. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, and we'll address those. So, you want to?
Any questions? Anyone? Yes, right here.
I have a couple, and one of them, if it would be possible to pull up the map where you show the school.
Yes, one moment.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'm sure you've done lots of studies being here at different times and seeing the traffic patterns, but my question, and first of all, let me start by saying I'm a cyclist. I mean, I like to ride my bike, get around. So in principle and in general, I'm really happy to see protected bike lanes. I'm definitely in favor of making room for that. That said, I'm very familiar with this stretch in front of the school between University and Piney Branch. I'm very aware of all the different parking and pedestrians, particularly all the kids and families coming and going from the school, and also just generally speaking about the speeders that go between University and Piney Branch, and the issues of trying to control the speed of the vehicle. So we talked to DOT and different departments about that issue and about the safety of pedestrians crossing the street and all of that. My question. Well, first of all, I guess I'm kind of surprised at that, the narrow section, at the ability to actually squeeze all of this in, right? It seems like it's quite challenging. And in front of the school in particular, what I noticed is that there's no shoulder, basically. You've got on the southbound lane, and if you wouldn't mind pointing while I'm talking so that everybody is kind of clear about where. Yes, exactly, right there. Have you been here at school pickup time at like 3:30? Do you know what happens there?
I think I was not, I've been here not at dismissal, but at in the morning, basically.
Okay, so what happens right along that stretch is, so if you wouldn't mind pointing to where the parking lot is the second parking lot.
See
Right there, yeah, yeah. So if you can imagine, going into that parking lot, behind there is where the kids come out who are picked up by car. So there's a line of cars from about like 2:45 until all the kids are picked up. So, and the line of cars comes all the way out onto Carroll and passes, I mean, it's a long line, right? And they just sit there, right? So they're sitting in what is currently, I believe, either a parking lane or a shoulder lane, or maybe they're even kind of snugged up onto the sidewalk. I mean, it's a tight squeeze, but they're there, not currently blocking the southbound traffic. This map suggests to me that you'll have a complete traffic jam. I don't know how you're gonna avoid that. Can you address that question?
Yeah, so before we do that, I just want to make sure that the people who are watching on the video later are,
Yeah.
get the gist. So I'm going to try and recap what you said, just so we're,
Yo lo
yeah.
puedo decir en español.
But in English for
Yeah, okay, sure.
so the gist of the comment was that during school dismissal times, parents come in cars to pick up their children, and they pick up in the southern entrance parking lot, which is on the left edge of the map here, and that the parking lot is not sufficient to hold all those cars, and so those cars spill out onto Carroll Avenue, where they're currently in a parking lane, but they're not blocking all southbound traffic. And your question is, how will that work in the new scenario? So that's a great point, and it's something we can certainly take a look at. If maybe the allocation of the parking spaces, maybe we should move those to the other side of the street potentially to sort of maintain what the current situation is. That's great feedback. And it may also be that we can maybe work with the school system on how the dismissal is handled, or how pickup is handled. But we understand the concerns, and we don't want there to be complete gridlock. But there are, of course, challenges when we have limited space to work with, and we're trying to provide safe accommodations. I do want to point out that this project is a bike lane project, yes, but it's also very much about pedestrian safety. We're narrowing the road space. You can see here we have, it's a bump out or a curb extension. In this case, it's a floating curb extension since there's a bike lane behind it, so it doesn't directly touch the sidewalk. But this basically breaks up the crossing into two. You cross the bike lane and then you cross the roadway. You have a space to wait in between. And then we have a raised crosswalk here, essentially a speed hump. And there's two others on Carroll Avenue to the south of the school. So people who are going through here in a hurry, they may still go through it in a hurry, but they'll at least have to go over some speed tables and slow down a little bit. So this is about improving safety, and I would hope that as part of this, we can encourage more people to walk to school, more people to bike to school as we create safer alternatives, because there may be kids, parents who live within a reasonable walk of the school or a reasonable bike distance of the school who don't feel comfortable doing so because the infrastructure is not there yet, and that might change. That might mean that fewer people drive. That's sort of what we call like a transformative vision, and it may not be 100% of people, but every little bit matters. So I think I would say that. Did you have anything, Oscar, that you wanted to?
No, I mean, I think the only thing I would add is, yeah, there is a parking lane. So I mean, I think it has room probably for like, I don't know, 5-6 vehicles. So I think that still there will be, even with that parking lane, I think that there was still probably some blockage on traffic. I would imagine, because it's only I think it only has space for like 5 or 6 vehicles. But that's the only thing I would add.
And also in the morning, they are coming from both sides. In the afternoon, when they are picking up the children, they just wait there because they come from work or etc. and they have to come 15 minutes before, and that's why you are saying that they will be using the line of traffic. But also in the morning, they come from south, and they are waiting to enter to the parking lots. And it's a big jump in the morning too. You saw that day. And also, but I would be nice if you come and you see it by yourself. Early in the morning, 8:25, 8:20, the cars start to come, and they have space in the parking lot for 10 cars. That is what MCPS is asking for. But also we have to understand that there are a lot of people waiting to enter to and also the problem is in the afternoon. But my other concern about that is the sidewalk is gonna be narrower than it is now. It's gonna be 5 feet.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
But it's not gonna be grass area.
No, there will be no buffer. There's no space for a buffer. The
So hold on. So I just want to repeat the question for the people who are listening at home. So, well, not listening at home right now, but they will be listening at home later when we post the recording, just so it's not live. So the question, well, there was a comment first that the morning drop off is also an issue with people coming from both directions to drop off children, and that the main question here is the width of the sidewalk on the school side. Is that correct? And the lack of a buffer on between the roadway and the sidewalk on the school side.
Yeah, so the sidewalk will be right against the curb. There is really no, I mean, we wish we could accommodate a buffer there, but it's just impossible.
And is the sidewalk, what is gonna be the height?
The standard,
6
same
inches.
as, yeah, 6
Because
inches.
that is the other thing. The cars, if they wanna go, they are going. Still, we have that problem. They park in the sidewalk.
They won't be able to. They will be able. They will have to get on the curb. Yeah, so it will be a full curb size. If you don't mind, I think you somebody. Yes.
I'd like to follow up on what these two ladies are talking about, because while I'm a bicyclist and I came here because I'm a bicyclist, we have this issue throughout Montgomery County with public schools where children are being put in dangerous situations, mainly due to vehicles. So I wonder if the county has thought about putting either a traffic signal right in front of the school, which probably involves Maryland Department of Transportation because it's a Maryland state highway, right?
Not here. So,
No.
so the question is, and you can continue, but I just want to go ahead and get the question out there. So the question is, the concern that's been stated is that children at not just this school, but many schools across the county are put into danger by motor vehicles. And is it possible to put a stoplight here at the school entrance? There's a statement that it's a state road. The state jurisdiction ends at University Boulevard. So it's a state road from DC to University Boulevard. It's a county road from University Boulevard to Piney Branch Road. So the state would not be involved with a signal.
God bless us all.
To answer that question,
God bless us all.
the state would not be involved, but you can continue your question.
So great, that's wonderful because it gives you guys more power. So bravo. So could we either get a signal, a traffic signal, so the children can get to school safely, or maybe a Montgomery County police officer, which I see frequently in front of private schools in Montgomery County. I see police officers directing traffic. So I would suggest you put that idea into your plan because I think your point about the sidewalk, there's no barrier between the roadway and the sidewalk. That's dangerous. I wouldn't want my child walking on that sidewalk.
So just to repeat the remainder of the question, which was, formalizing the question about the signal, but then also just the concern about the lack of a buffer, and whether if a signal is not possible, whether a police officer could be stationed here. So what I would say is I think it's unlikely that a signal would be warranted here. This is what we would call really peaky, P-E-A-K-Y, right? It's really, would be really used for 20 minutes in the morning and really used for 30 minutes in the afternoon. And for the rest of the day, it would have very little usage, right? So the issue with I mean, yes, people cross here, but in terms of the number of vehicles that would be coming out of the school, the number of people who are crossing the street here, compared to many other intersections, it's going to be pretty flat during most of the day. And so with signals, we have what are called warrants that we usually need to meet. And the main reason here is that if you have a signal and you don't want to stop traffic when there's no one there, right? So the light, we probably wouldn't make this a pre-timed light. It would be actuated, meaning there'd be a detector that would say, there's a car here or there's a pedestrian here, I need to change. But if there's not a car or pedestrian, it would just stay green for Carroll Avenue. And the problem with lights that don't change very often is drivers get used to their environment. And someone who drives through here every day at, 8 p.m., and the light's never red for them, right? They've driven through every day of their life, for months and months and months. and they've never seen that light red before. And then one day the light turns red, and they've never had to pay attention to it before because it's never been red for them, and they forget to stop. So that's one of the concerns about putting in what's called an unwarranted signal. I think given the volume here and the fact that this doesn't have a lot of vehicles, it's just a pedestrian crossing, I think a signal here is probably unlikely to get approved. I'm not the person who makes that decision, but I think it's probably pretty unlikely that that would happen. In terms of crossing guard here, there is a program that is administered, I believe, by the county police, so we can certainly ask, but I know that they're oversubscribed with requests, I think. If you see police officers at private schools, it's likely because the private school is paying for the police officer to work. The police officer is not on duty. They're sort of moonlighting, as it were, to do this.
Well, they're moonlighting in their Montgomery County police officer's uniform with their vehicle parked there.
Yeah, I think that there's. I mean, I don't know I don't know how the background is for those sorts of things, but the schools are paying for that, and so I don't know what the exactly how it works at the public school, but we can certainly have those conversations. But that would be
we have Vision Zero. We have Vision Zero in Montgomery County, so I think Vision Zero means pedestrians and or bicyclists won't be run over and injured while making their way along.
Well, more specifically, Vision Zero is the idea that no one, whether they're on foot or on bike or in a car or on a bus, no one should be seriously injured or killed because they're on the road, right? And that involves a lot of changes and decisions that are made as part of an overall comprehensive plan, which we do have. And it also means that we cannot wait for someone to be killed or seriously injured before we address an item. So that's what Vision Zero means. So we look at what are the risk factors, is someone likely to be killed or injured, and we deal with it before that happens. We don't wait for that to happen. I think in this case, we are making safety improvements. And a raised crosswalk here, knowing the intersection, these are things that will, one, slow down drivers, and two, improve compliance with the stop control that's already been installed there. I like to say that signs are the equivalent of asking nicely. So if you're driving and you see a sign that says 25 miles an hour, that's us asking you nicely to drive 25 miles an hour. And if you don't want to drive 25 miles an hour, you can drive more than that because the sign's asking you nicely and you can ignore that. Now, if there's a police officer there, you can get a ticket. But what I like, as someone who works in the engineering division, is engineering solutions, right? Things that make you slow down, right? We're not asking you nicely, we're gonna make you do it, right? So we put a speed hump there, that's not asking nicely. That's telling you, that's making you do it, right? That speed hump is there 24/7. The crossing guard might be there for 30 minutes or an hour in the morning and 30 minutes or an hour in the afternoon, but that speed hump is there all day. And so I don't think a stop light is likely. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I'm not the person who makes that decision. I'm not telling you no. I'm telling you the answer is probably going to be no from the people who do make the decision. But what I'm saying is we are doing other things, and this is absolutely a Vision Zero project. So we are absolutely committed to that. We don't want anyone, school children or teachers or anybody else, to be injured on these, in these crosswalks, and we do think that these improvements will make that less likely. So.
And I just want to add something. I have been working in school for 12 years, and we have seen increase the traffic in this since the Purple Line construction started. It's a shortcut from Piney Branch, and it's amazing. And even buses and everybody, nobody respects anything in the street, and that is our concern. Yep. Because it's not something that we don't want. We want to see something more friendly with the environment, but also we want to see the children and the people of the community are safe.
Yeah. So the comment is that since the Purple Line construction has started, they're seeing a lot more cut-through traffic, or traffic that's trying to bypass the shortcut traffic through this neighborhood, and we understand that's not pleasant for anybody when that happens. So we think that this project, by narrowing the roadway, by putting in the bump outs to reduce the exposure, that's going to slow it down. It's going to make it less of a shortcut. It's not going to increase the distance, but it is going to increase the time that it takes. And what I can tell you is we have other projects. I can't promise you that what has worked in other parts of the county is definitely going to work here, but we have indicators about what will work. So on Grove Street in East Silver Spring, we started this project right before the pandemic. we collected a bunch of traffic data because we wanted to look at like how do these different treatments work. And this is a street that, just in case you're not familiar, it's one block east of Fenton Street and parallel to Fenton Street. So it's downtown Silver Spring. Fenton Street is really congested during certain parts of the day, and people who want to bypass that traffic will sometimes turn off of Fenton. As the first opportunity they get, they'll turn off of Fenton, go into Grove Street, and zoom up Grove Street to just bypass the traffic. Grove Street is very narrow. It's basically a single lane that has two directions to traffic, but it's basically a single lane with parked cars, no sidewalk, although we're working on that, but there's no sidewalk presently. And so people walk to school, kids walk to school on that street, but there's no sidewalk. They have to walk in the street, and then here are these drivers who are just zooming up and down the street to try and bypass traffic. So the neighborhood was concerned about this, but we didn't have a lot of agreement in the neighborhood about what the best solution was, because there are people in the neighborhood and they want to be able to use Grove Street to get around because they don't want to have to go sit in the traffic on Fenton Street either, just like you might not want to go to University Boulevard to go places. And some people who didn't necessarily want a sidewalk in front of their house, people would use it. So what we did was we actually went out and used some temporary materials. The first thing we did was we put up, during the pandemic, we put up signs that said road closed to through traffic. So basically you could drive one block, then you had to turn off. But they were just signs. We were just asking nicely. Again, like I said, asking nicely doesn't work. But in this case, we found that the reduction in traffic was huge. Lots of people said they obeyed the signs. There was never any, at no point did we ever have any enforcement. They were just signs. The police never went out there and enforced it. But people did actually obey the signs and stop driving on Grove. Then we went in and put in speed humps, and we put in a walking space. It wasn't an actual sidewalk, it's a temporary walking space on the road. And it was really popular, and the traffic volume stayed low. And most of that traffic did not just shift to other streets in the neighborhood. Most of that traffic disappeared altogether within the neighborhood, meaning it either stayed on Fenton Street or it went to other arterial streets outside the neighborhood. So making changes like this, narrowing the street, putting in speed humps, making it so you have to go slower to get through here, increasing the amount of, like, if you're stuck behind this, if you try and cut through here every day at 3:30 and now you can't, now it takes you 3 times as long to cut through here because the school's backed up onto the street, you're going to stop cutting through here. You're going to do it once and say, I'm never going to drive on Carroll Avenue ever again, right? At least not this time of the day. And drivers learn what works and what doesn't work. And so we think that these changes will be an improvement, but we still want to hear from you. We're only at 35% design. There's still a lot of room to make design changes. And we don't want to just we're not trying to just push this traffic to other streets in the neighborhood. That's not the goal here. The goal is to improve safety throughout the neighborhood. I'm going to take one more question, and then from you, and then we'll break up, and you can talk to us one-on-one. We have the maps in the back. Yes.
First, I just want to applaud your idea of the speed bumps. We've been proposing that. We've met with the other departments of DOT, and they're like, well, we don't know what they're planning, and it's like, who should we be talking to? But speed bumps has definitely been something we've been requesting for a while now. One of the responses to that, just so you know, was, well, because this is an emergency route, that maybe speed bumps weren't going to be permitted because they do damage to the emergency vehicles like ambulances and fire trucks. So we were under the impression that they wouldn't even be a possibility. So I'm thrilled to hear that it's part of your vision and plan. So that's great. Now my question is about, for that section that we were talking about previously, in front of the school and then down the hill towards Piney Branch, towards the gas station. It's the narrow section that you're talking about. I'm just wondering if you can give us a number about how many parking spaces will be lost during this, as it stands currently.
Sure. Right.
Just because you probably know that parking is a major problem in Quebec Terrace and all overflowing onto Carroll, and that whole section where you're talking about that sidewalk with no buffer and all of that, that vehicles like park up onto the sidewalk. So it's like people look for it wherever they can. So I'm just wondering if
Yes.
you can give us some.
All right, so I'm going to let Oscar answer that, but before I get to that, I just want to repeat your question for the people who are listening to the video later. The first comment was, you've asked previously for speed humps, you're excited about the speed humps, and you just, I guess, kind of wanted some confirmation about that. And your second question was about the total loss of parking spaces, and as I said, I'm going to let Oscar answer that one in just a minute. In terms of the speed humps, these are are not, I mean, they're raised crosswalks, so they're not technically speed humps, but as far as the regulations are concerned, they're considered speed humps, but they're a little bit different. We do have them throughout the county in different places. Because this is not a residential street, my understanding is that there does need to be some regulation change before they would be permitted. We're operating under the assumption, our division is pushing for this on this street, but we're operating under the assumption by the time that this project gets to the construction stage that regulation will have been changed. If that doesn't happen, then these would not be able to happen. But we want to try, and this is what our vision is to have these raised crosswalks here. So my understanding is that those regulations are already drafted, they're in the works, but I don't know exactly where they are in the process. But we still have a while of the design process left. So we're operating under the assumption that will happen. And I'm going to let Oscar answer the question about the change in parking spaces from today to the proposed condition.
Right. So, yeah, this alternative, I think, impacts about 20 parking spots. One thing that we notice on the multiple site visits is there are a lot of vehicles that are abandoned, basically. You can tell that they have not been moved. They don't even have license plates. That are basically occupying parking space. The cars that you see on top of the sidewalk is basically because the curb is low, so they basically try to move as much as they can. And so one thing that I think we're trying to accomplish with the project is organized parking. So that is, prevent people from parking too close to the intersection, prevent people from parking blocking driveways, because that was one of the comments that we got on the first public meeting, that people were upset about the fact that many times they're trying to get out and there's a car parked in front of their driveway. There is also, a lot of this probably doesn't apply to the northern part of the corridor, but to the south, most houses have a driveway and they're probably parking on the street because it's convenient. So we're trying to balance the loss of parking, and we know that. We know that we're removing it, but there is no other way. And the goal is to organize parking in a way that only the people that really need it are the ones that are using it, not just dumping a car in the street because they just don't want to deal with it. So yeah, unfortunately, we will with this alternative, we'll be losing about 20 spaces.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for attending this evening. The meeting's not over. The staff will be here. We have the maps in the back that you can make comments on, you can look at, and you can talk to us one-on-one. But we really do appreciate you coming out this evening. I know that there was a PTA meeting that conflicted with this meeting. That was unfortunate timing. But we are going to try and work to have another meeting so that people who weren't able to attend are able to still have these conversations with us. And of course, this meeting recording will be posted within a couple days on our project webpage. So people if your neighbors weren't able to attend, you can point them in that direction. So that will happen hopefully by this time next week. It'll be up there. So thank you so much.
Did you say that there will be a follow-up meeting? Next week, right? Next Tuesday?
No, there's not a follow-up meeting next Tuesday. We are working to schedule a meeting. But I was saying that this meeting will be, the recording should be up on the website by next week, hopefully by this time next week. So thank you so much. We'll be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.